Everyone has a story. I get them to tell it. Welcome to the Aaron Bender Podcast. Conversations with media personalities about their personal and professional lives and journeys. Thank you so much for your support. A little break that we took here on the Aaron Bender Podcast. A little recharge, refresh, reconnect, realignment, if you will. Thank you so much for all your support, whether you're watching on YouTube or nightly at 11 p.m. Pacific or 2 a.m. Eastern on DB&A TV at dbandatelevision.tv or streaming with the DB&A TV app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV, or listening on your favorite platform. Before we get to my conversation with Alysha Del Valle, a little about my story. I'm a widowed dad of two girls who just lost their mom, a grieving husband, a man in recovery trying to reconnect with the world with fresh eyes, faith, and perspective, a college journalism professor, a white guy in a world of injustice, a 20-year broadcast media veteran who had his dream job and then lost it. A year and a half ago, God gave me a gift, an opportunity to stop, step back, and breathe so I can learn about love, vulnerability, forgiveness, grace, self-care, patience, and understanding. Alysha Del Valle is LA through and through. The USC graduate has worked on radio stations in LA, TV stations here in Southern California. She's an avid Dodgers fan, Rams, LAFC, but at the heart of it all is family.
Wow. Thank you. I know we've known each other for years now, and I guess you would know that about me, right? Well, I've never hid it, even on air and stuff, mentioning my family, mentioning I'm my hometown, all that stuff. I guess it is, you're right, you're correct. That is the core of my being. And even pursuing the field I did, I very much wanted to make my family proud. And a lot of decisions I made career-wise was so I could stay with my family, be in LA, even currently.
Right.
I technically could be working in another market, but I don't want to leave LA. I started in LA. I'm not going anywhere.
At what point in your career, because you've been at a few of the TV stations in town, a few of the radio stations in town, at what point were you closest, perhaps, to leaving LA? Because it used to be, maybe not so much anymore, because of social media and stuff. You can kind of create your own platform and create your own online presence. But, you and me growing up in the business, it was always, you got to leave LA if you want to work in LA. But how close were you to actually leaving LA at one point?
I never wanted to leave. So I'm saying, even when I was a young single mom in college, right out of college, I didn't take that job out of the market. Like you said, you have to leave. I went to USC, the best broadcasting school in the country. But I didn't get a job offer right away. I did a Spanish-speaking news station offered me a job, but my Spanish is horrible. It's terrible. And you have to have perfect Spanish. Yes. You can't just speak Spanish. You have to have perfect Spanish. So let's just get that straight right now.
Well, yeah, we've talked about our mutual friend Beto Duran. When he has to do a Spanish broadcast, he'll practice with tutors and other friends in the business for like a week or two or more, just to make sure that his Spanish is perfect for that broadcast.
They will come after you. They, meaning the viewers, they expect their anchors, their broadcasters, they to be flawless and perfect. So it's a lot of pressure. I've had friends who tried doing this job or that job where it was Spanish and it was LA based, and they were still like, no, your Spanish is poor.
Really? And
she's like, but I'm from here.
What do you mean my Spanish is poor? I'm just talking to everybody. All my friends, we're all right here. What's the problem? Now, I could understand if you go to someplace like Miami or something like that with an LA Spanish accent, or someplace in Texas or in New York. That's not going to fly. But
Colorado.
Somebody from LA trying to broadcast in LA, and they're like, no, it's really not.
It's not cutting it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because it was a Spanish news station for Southern California. It was local.
Yeah.
And they were still like, no, your Spanish is not good enough. But she's like, that was my first language.
Right. So
So
obviously
that put
not
it in my head, like, absolutely not.
right.
And I just hustled, I grinded. I knew, I manifested it. I wanted it so bad to work for my dream station, ABC7. That was the station my family grew up watching. It was the only station I wanted to work for. And the fact that so many people told me you will never work on the news nor for the legacy station. And so I spent time grinding, cable shows at night, morning radio shows. I had like a spinoff at USC. I had my own show. Nobody got to watch it really, unless you were a student. But still, like, that was the
Doesn't
point.
matter. It doesn't matter. You're putting in the work. What was the
And it
reasoning
finally paid
behind
off.
you mentioned some people are like, you'll never make it in news, let alone for the legacy station like ABC7. What was their reasoning behind that?
Well, mostly because nobody looked like me, talked like me, had a last name like me. It was rare. It was still you could count on one hand the number of Latinos that were anchoring, and especially females. And there were some in sports and weather, but we had Laura Diaz and Lauren Sanchez. Yeah. Rick Garcia did sports, Carlos Del Valle did sports.
Right.
I'm really aging myself, but this is the era. Now it's different. Now they've gotten a lot better. But my problem with news currently is that you still don't have people in positions of power, true power, like calling the shots, green lighting projects, hiring more Latinos who maybe have a better understanding of the area that they are from. And that comes from news stations doing the same thing the same way since, broadcasting started. I mean, it's really hard to change the machine. And I get that, but it has to be done. And that's why young people don't watch the news, So we'll see. And like you mentioned earlier, I did start in LA, and I'm currently not on a station, and I don't want to leave. I've been offered jobs out of state, but I can't go back on what I know is for me. And maybe this is the time where I take what you just mentioned. I create my own space. I create my own channel. I mean, with streaming and young people are leading the way. They're like,
Yep.
I don't need to go to broadcasting school. I don't need to do this or that. They just have a message, a passion. A lot of it's craziness. Like, I can't do the TikTok dancing thing. Like,
I was going to ask when.
I get so embarrassed. I'm so bad at it. Why torture at people's eyes and ears? Like, it's okay.
Rainey hasn't kind of dragged you into that TikTok space yet?
Oh, my daughter is such a fan of, I'm a fan of TikTok. I just don't see myself
Learning all the dances
video.
and doing all the trends and everything like that.
Yeah, but I mean, it does suck you in, right? TikTok is such a
you can go
black
down that
hole.
rabbit hole
It's
so
funny,
easily.
and it's informative, and young people are getting their news, they're getting their current events, they're getting their history, like true history. Wink, wink. I'm not going to go after the school system right now. But they're getting knowledge that they don't get on traditional outlets on television. So everybody needs to kind of catch up,
Yeah.
But because a lot of false stuff is also put out, but I blame Facebook mostly for that.
Yeah, Facebook is rough. Facebook is so rough in that department. Twitter to a large degree as well, but Facebook leads the way in that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I feel it's very divisive, and nobody answers for that. And it's become the news.
Yeah.
And it's so not the news.
We talk a lot about with the media personalities I have on, I feel like especially journalists tend to really associate their career with their identity and vice versa. The idea that you're always on, you could always be called. I've worked at in newsrooms where the news director would be like, you need to have your phone on 24/7. We may call you. And there was some pushback and some blowback, but by and large, that is the business. You could get a call at 2 a.m, even though you're not scheduled until 5 that night.
Right. Yeah, no, and even when you're on vacation, depending on your area, you could be called to work.
Oh, yeah. No, I would have to tell them where I'm going to be on vacation just in case a story broke in that area. Like, okay, I'm going to be in Seattle. All right, well, there are wildfires there. Can you give us your perspective or something like that? How difficult has it been since, the departure from Channel 4 and then a departure from Channel 7 as well. Prior to that, how difficult has it been to separate that career from identity?
Very. I love that you bring that up. I don't think a lot of people understand. And it's not a woe is me thing. It's more just an explanation of when you work in the news industry, at least personally speaking, and everyone around me that I've worked with at two, premier stations in the country, because I feel like we should explain if people don't get it. The number one market to work in Los Angeles is New York, but LA is number two. And I feel number one in all because I'm a shameless homer. And
yep, absolutely.
Right.
And especially in radio, for example, because I don't feel like New York radio is as listened to as LA radio because of the commute times, and you've got more people, I think, on the subways and things like that than the bridge crowd.
Than sitting in your car for hours just trying to get home or to school or work. Absolutely. Traffic it's a lifestyle here. Traffic does not discriminate unless you're I don't want to call out billionaires. Unless you're a billionaire with your own chopper, you deal with traffic.
Still got to get to the airfield or whatever.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. See, so traffic does not, it's an equal opportunist, which is why I had a pretty decent career doing traffic. It wasn't my dream career, but to work for Channel 7, again, that was my dream, to be on the news. I wanted to have a billboard and I wanted to work for Channel 7. Those were my two dreams as a little girl growing up. Because I just thought if you're on a billboard, again, Aaron, the way we're always in our cards, billboards matter.
Yes.
They actually do, you notice them. Yeah. And so I got the billboard when I worked for Latino 96.3. It was a morning show. It was a Spanglish reggaeton show. It was actually ahead of its time, trying to meld the English and the Spanish because there are so many of us here in Southern California and we're ignored. We're ignored entirely, but that's a whole other subject. So I keep bouncing all over the place.
Hey, that's the benefit of a podcast. I don't have to worry about the clock. Okay, we're 8 minutes in. Let's wrap it up. No, let's bounce around.
The identity, your identity is not yours, is what I should have just started with. And they own my image, which I had a hard time understanding because they didn't really teach that in school. They tell you have to be unbiased, and they tell you cannot show or comment. And this, see, again, when I graduated from USC in 99, and social media was not what it is today.
Right.
So we're talking, I think, MySpace. That's about it.
Yeah, MySpace was I think barely taking hold. I mean, I think in 99, in the 90s, we were all still on AOL hoping that our dial-up phone number worked and maybe they could add a new one.
Yep, you're right. And so I remember being at USC and they forced me to get an email. So that's how long ago this was. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. There was no social media. So fast forward, when you get to a station like ABC, which is such again, I keep throwing that word legacy.
Yep.
They very much let you know like how you're supposed to look. They brought someone in from San Antonio, Texas to teach me how to say Los Angeles, how to say LA, because I said it like a neighborhood girl.
Okay.
I am a neighborhood.
I was a little confused by that, but okay.
Right, and San Antonio so knows how to say LA, but whatever.
Right, of course. Right.
And the boss tells me, like, I'll never forget this. Just because the mayor says it that way doesn't mean it's correct. Oh. And my head was like, but the mayor is also from LA, says LA. You get what I'm saying? Like, And I got so much hate mail in the beginning of my career at ABC. A lot of older viewers did not like me, I was different.
The way you look, the way you talk, the way you, all of it.
The way I dressed. I was very feminine, but very aware I was dressed professional. It wasn't nightclub dresses or anything like that. But I patterned my look, if you want to call it that, after Joni from Mad Men. Did you watch Mad Men?
A little bit, yes. I know I know exactly what you're talking about.
Joni's the redhead. She becomes one of the partners, but she started off as an assistant.
Spoiler alert! Come on, spoiler alert!
Oh, dang! Sorry.
Here we are, 20 years later.
You haven't watched it by now. But she dressed very feminine, meaning She accented her curves. She didn't try to hide them. And again, Aaron, we're talking about how news women to be able to make it in a male dominated industry kind of dress like men, right? Shoulder pads, suits, blazers, to be taken seriously. Now we've come a long way, but again, this is the era I got into. And it was also still at a time rather where they were like, yeah, no, it's about ABC. It's not about you. Not too much of you. Yet I got more and more popular with my community. And I feel like that's probably why they hired me. But I was just such a pinch me, imposter syndrome, just grateful that they gave me an opportunity that I did whatever they said. Cut my hair, darkened it, highlighted, everything they asked, I did. 16-hour days, not a problem, right? Because I'm so lucky to be here. So that was for almost 10 years. And then during that 10 years is when social media took off. I was actually really good at sharing, especially on Twitter. And I kept my audience grew. And I really wanted to try my hand at sports because that was my dream job, which I was told also, no way. And so I don't want to cry about everything, but to answer your question, my image was owned and I had a mindset of, hey, is this good for your station?
Right.
Is your station going to like this? What if, especially with posting, right?
Right.
Now, luckily, I'm not like a nightclub girl or anything like that. Like there are not going to be any crazy drug stories or anything like that. But I do love going to Dodger games.
Yeah,
and
Dodger games, going to the beach,
the beach. I'm a hiker. I love paddleboarding. I love roller skating. I love living life. And when you wake up at 2 a.m., you really have to tone that down. Yeah. And so I kind of resisted, I'm not going to lie. But for a while, I could do both. And then when I went to the other station after that, I was seduced and stolen from 7. They did not want me to leave. It was like home. I missed my morning show family very much. But it was more of the same. At the same time, hey, you're now this, but we want you to post more. Well, okay, am I going to be compensated for that? To be on it every day, all day? Well, no, because everyone does it now. Oh, okay. And I just did it because, again, I was so grateful to,
right,
be a chosen one, a lucky one, right? They have to choose you to work on their station. So flash forward to 2020, the worst year of my life. And I still had the mindset. I was given opportunities to do infomercials, even a voiceover gig, and they were all paying gigs. But the voiceover gig was for a pot industry event.
Right.
And pot is still...
there's a stigma to it that a lot of the corporations just don't want to be associated with. Right.
And so I kept denying these gigs. No, because I'm going to get right back on the news. So do you see the mindset? And just until recently, I have been, because there was another station here in Los Angeles that I really was so close to getting. Even my new agent was like, oh no, you're in, it's a great fit, you belong there, because a lot of my community watches this channel.
Yeah.
And it fell through. And so I'm just now, and it's great timing, Aaron, that you invited me to speak with you. Thank you. Because I'm just now kind of trying to divorce that mindset. I have to break up with the ex-boyfriend news. Traditional media, you're out of here. Yeah. No going back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I've told myself, that with the events of the last year and a half, but especially the last 8 or 9 months since the passing of my wife in November, the idea that it's got to be the perfect opportunity to get me out of the house, to get me, I still teach at Cal State Northridge, but everything else I do is at the house. And if you want me to leave this house, it's got to be the perfect opportunity. It's got to be.
Right. Well, I can't even imagine what you've gone through, what you're still going through, because it's not over. And nothing, I know people want to say, let's get back to normal, but it's a new normal. It's not going to be the way it was. And so I commend you for waking up every day and not giving into, it's much easier, and I'm speaking from personal experience, to be sad or angry or bitter, because I went through that breakup phase, and I'm still adjusting, and you're still figuring things out. I mean, the fact that you're like, I'm going to say no to that. That's figuring things out. Like,
Yes, exactly. You and I also have something in common. Let's kind of lighten it up a little bit with our love for golf. Now, I don't know how much you play, how often you play or played. I have hit the ground running. I think since April I've played like 15 or 16 rounds, maybe 20, give or take. Maybe a couple of rounds didn't quite make it onto the app on my phone or something like that. How did you get into golf? Because that's also another space where we don't see people and women who look like you.
Well, thank you very much for even acknowledging that. I mean, if you watched any kind of major open on television, we are completely 100% ignored, even with advertising.
Yeah.
But don't get me started. Okay, so
that's 3 things I'm not going to get you started on. I'm going to go back to this podcast. I'm going to make little notes, and then next time you're on, we're going to get started on all of them.
I feel like maybe speaking with you is helping me figure out what I want to focus on with my podcast. I should.
Yeah, you said on Instagram in recent days that several people have approached you, or at least suggested to you recently, that you should do some sort of podcast, do some sort of something. Like
yeah,
that.
it was a vlogcast, which I didn't understand what that was, but it's a visual podcast.
Yep.
And they want me to focus on local sports and booze. While sipping libation and adult beverage.
That works.
And I can interview guests. I actually already have 2 pretty prominent people, but it's not. So here's the thing. I should ask you for advice. Maybe we should wait till after this is over.
Okay, sure.
I just don't know which way to go. I have all these choices, and it's amazing, and I'm grateful. Yeah. But when I do something, I am all in. Yes. And so I need to like zero in and go all in, and then I'll make that happen. Yeah.
We will absolutely talk afterward. Yeah.
Oh, today this sounds great. Oh no, but this sounds, I'm like,
Yeah.
So, but thank you. So, the Golf Channel, actually, when I was leaving Channel 7, the agent I had at the time, who I will not name, he was kind of pushing me. I guess there was an opening and they were actually looking for a female. And he's like, golf, you got this. But I'm like, you're crazy if you think ABC7 is going to let me, they wouldn't let me do local sports. And you think they're going to loan me out to the Golf Channel? Like,
right.
So that was 5 years ago. So when I was young, nobody watched golf or cared. My dad used to make fun of golf. My dad is very active. My mom and dad played tennis. My mom's a great bowler. She's been on bowling teams. My dad is like football, baseball, basketball. He was a gymnast. So golf, he used to make fun of golf. And then he got sucked in.
That's what happens.
Started playing in his 30s. And then he kept trying to get me to play. And by then I'm already like, I'm a teenager. Like, golf's boring. Who golf? Because this is pre-Tiger Woods. It wasn't cool yet.
Yeah.
I liked the movies, Caddyshack and stuff, but it was still making fun of the stereotypes of golfers, right?
Yes.
So I had no problem not being in that space. Flash forward, my daughter golfed with my dad. My little sister golfed with my dad. Really good. They've got an awesome little tender 9-hole in Pico Rivera, my family's hometown. And that's where I kind of was like, wow, this is cool. And going to invited to so many golf tournaments. Yeah, I liked dressing up. Of course, I love golf clothes. Of course I do. I don't apologize for that. However, I'm too competitive, I guess, to suck. So I'm like, I better learn.
Yeah.
So then I paid attention, and I love golf. I wish I could play way more often. You said you're up to about 20. I would say only about a dozen times. But I am going Wednesday morning to hit a bucket because I'm playing in a golf tournament on Friday.
Nice.
But I'll be at the Dodger games Tuesday and Wednesday, so I can't.
We need to connect Wednesday night at the Dodger game. I am going with my guy, Big Brother Jake of the Big Brother Jake podcast. We are going to be at Astros Dodgers for Max Scherzer's first start Wednesday night. We got to go. That's going to be so sweet. We didn't know he was going to be the starter for that night. Jake just posted on his Instagram, hey, anybody want to go to a Dodger game? And I looked at the tickets, and they're reasonable, so let's go.
You're like,
yeah. So I'll text you Wednesday night when we're there, and we'll hang. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Wednesday's kind of cool because it's also like a business meeting. I'm going with this writing group who likes my short story that I submitted to them, and I want to make it into a screenplay. But I submitted it to them as a young adult book.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm writing like
you're so Hollywood now. Wow, look at this. Look at this. I'm taking a meeting at Dodger Stadium. Don't bother me.
Yeah, did you know? I did not know that these things are possible, or because I had to say no to everything for so many years. So, so it's through a friend. It's not like I submitted. I don't have a literary agent. I've never published anything, but I'm also writing a book about morning shows in Los Angeles.
Oh, that'll be good. That'll be good. I'm here for that. I am totally here for that. I'm going to throw a couple of names at you one at a time, and you just go free form with your thoughts on these people. All right?
Okay.
Oh, there's no uh-oh. I'm not going to throw anything at you. You won't.
I'm ready. Hold
George Lopez.
Family. He is, or jefe. He's the boss. He's family. I love that man. He's like my godfather, and he's very good to my family, and I know his family, and we have a group of friends that we've known each other over 20 years. Gosh, I was 10. I'm just kidding. But yeah, George Lopez is one of the most authentic, down, giving, lovable humans you'll ever meet. It's just, he also comes from a not so easy life. And that's why a lot of comedians have broken hearts. And so, yeah. I'm here for George all day, every day, man.
Danny Trejo.
I was going to tell you my nickname for him. Machete. I'll just go with Machete. Again, I feel like I'm being corny now, but Danny Trejo is also family. Had I met Danny, like if I had known Danny I would marry Danny. Danny Trejo they broke the mold with Danny Trejo. And again, the shit that he's gone through in his life, he should be dead or incarcerated for the rest of his life. And instead, he spends his life taking care of others. He dedicated his life to helping. He's been sober for so many years. And he promised God in prison, if you get me out of this, help me with this, I will spend the rest of my days. And he's done it. He has honored his promise for so many years. And I have amazing, great friends through him as well. In fact, I'm going to be working with Danny on something.
Oh, good.
So,
good.
Again, another opportunity. He doesn't want me to go back to news, nor does George. George told me years ago, forget news. They dull your shine. And I was like, I shine? Like,
just want some kind of affirmation. Like, yes, I shine.
So yeah, Danny Trejo is in another life. I'm going to marry Danny Trejo.
Where do you feel like you got that drive? Like you said, single mom. So what? Going to USC. You've got to leave LA. No, I don't. I'm going to stay in LA. Where did that drive come from? Did it come from one of your parents? Do you feel like there was another family member, or just growing up? Obviously, it all gets thrown into the mix. It gets thrown into the pot, and here you are. But is there maybe one or two things that you can pinpoint? Like, okay, this is where I get my drive.
Yes, and you said it. It is a recipe of family and just the things that I've gone through. It's a very unique time when I grew up, because television became so important, because music videos became so important, because Mexican Americans had the capital to say, hey, we can buy that car, we can go on vacation. I mean, my dad, we were the only ones on our block who went skiing. We were the only ones on our block who golfed. We're the only ones on our block who my dad was like, we're going to the national parks and we're gonna hike and camp. And I'm like, what? Like, and my dad, he was one of 13 kids, a farm worker. He picked cotton, he picked peaches. My mom's side, my nana, I'm at her home right now. Again, her name is Alicia. I'm named after her. Between her 6 kids, my dad's 13 kids, we are about surviving, and not just surviving, we thrive, right? We say, hey, I can do that. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do better than that. So not going to college. I'm the first one in my family to go to college. It was put on me at a very young age. You're going to go to law school. You're going to be the one. You're going to, be the one. And so of course I had that privilege of making choices, which my relatives, a lot of my ancestors did not have that choice. Right. So I did not take it for granted. I worked my ass off, and I want to continue working my ass off, and I want to continue to tell my story on behalf of my family. You understand, I had aunties come in from Texas to take a picture by my billboard. Remember that billboard I mentioned?
Yeah.
It's like making my family proud is a big reason why I do anything that I do. It's not for designer purses or shoes. I'd rather buy a flight. Like it is my family and travel. That is why I work my ass off.
The idea, though, that you have been very vocal, especially in the last, I would say, like 6 months to a year, about mental health. You talk about family. We've talked about, your community, the immigrant community, especially also the idea that mental health is not talked about. We keep your heads down. You work. You don't talk about anything. You've already mentioned a couple of times, like, hey, I'm not complaining about this, because that is, it's in a lot of our DNA. You don't complain. You just do the work, and you show up. You punch that clock. Mm-hmm. You don't talk about mental health. You don't talk about the struggles. You don't talk about, like, hey, I am not happy all the time. I know when you see me on TV every morning, I look happy. No, I just had this breakup, or I've got this medical issue, or there's some family stuff going on. Nope. When that light goes on, when that red light goes on in the newsroom or in the studio, you got to be on. And that's tough for a lot of people, especially when we get out of the business. Like, wait a minute. I have to really sink into my feelings now. I have to really feel what it feels like to be sad and to grieve. And without all that, you can't also feel joy. You can't also feel happiness if you don't also let yourself feel the other side of things.
You're absolutely right. And one of the ways people deal with those feelings, and you can't talk about it or work through it or go to a therapist because there's that stigma, is abusing yourself, right? Whether it's overeating, drinking, smoking, prescription drugs. I mean, there are lots of ways to hurt yourself rather than, get treatment or even just admit something's wrong.
Right.
Because like you said, I mean, my nickname on the morning show was Sunshine. There were no bad days.
Right.
And because news is so dark and so heavy. Weather and traffic is usually supposed to be the, like, okay, you're at bat. Let's take us out of that darkness. And I love that, because I am actually a pretty happy person. I think I have a pretty good attitude. Notice I knocked on wood because the past year and a half was really difficult. But being able to say that out loud is even it's progress, Aron. It was a very difficult year. I was not in a good headspace. I did not ask for help. Those are things I've had to admit to myself, because I've done everything myself, right? Like, I don't need anybody. I'm strong. I'm a chicana. I'm a chingona. Like, that's what we do. Like, no. And I feel like a lot of young people have really led the way to say, I can take a moment and take care of this space. I mean, look at all the attention Simone Biles is getting. Yeah. Like, the fact that so many people are going after her for saying, I can't do this. I got to do this other thing for my mental health. And the attacker shows you how there's still a conversation to be had. They don't associate mental health with health. They associate, if she had broken her ankle or something, then that would be okay. They'd be like, oh, poor Simone. But no, because it's something that they can't see or want to admit is important, because maybe they, like myself, have not grown up with it's okay to have you know?
Yep.
I don't want to say issues, just things that come up, things we have to deal with, or because they don't truly go away. I was really good at putting things in my closet, like in the back, you know, and I would hike alone, or I went to boxing class and I thought I would work things out. I journal. So those are healthy habits, but there were things also that I did to hurt myself instead of working with a super toxic person and a breakup or, you know, just whatever comes up in all of our lives. I did not have a great outlet, but I am always working on that. And it's never over, by the way. Growing to me is lifelong. Once I think I know everything, it's over for me. I'm in the ground. Like, I want to continue to grow my whole life, learn, grow, challenge, question, write stories. I'm a storyteller, and I have to remember that when I get down on myself, because it's very hard to be rejected by the community, the work community that I dedicated so much of my life to. And that's how I felt is, wow, I'm really not going to get that full-time job in LA, but you all know me. It's me, like, because we all know each other, just like I know you and we know Dave and we all know one another. And so it was really hard on top of the pandemic, on top of health issues, on top of losing family members. It's a lot. And so we have to talk about mental health. We have to say it's okay to ask for help. Please ask for help. It doesn't have to be me. There's anonymous phone numbers. There's so many ways that I wish I had taken advantage of many years ago, you know?
Yeah, the idea also that people listening to this, it's important to acknowledge as we talk that, you know, you talked about, you know, you would hurt yourself mentally and you know, like we said, overeating or whatever kind of addiction you want to throw out there. It's not as if that ever stops. It's just the coping, the management, the reaction. You know, one of the most important lessons that my wife ever taught me was just last year, the idea that bad things are going to happen. You cannot prevent bad things from happening. You can only control your reaction to that and the management of your actions and reactions. And that is so important because, you know, you're going to beat yourself up. The most successful people in the world beat themselves up in their minds, but they overcome that and they manage that and they react to it positively instead of sinking into that and helping that become their identity.
Amen. You said it. I can't say anything more perfect than what you just, because it is true. I was thinking. I was in disbelief, and that's why I likened it to a relationship.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes there are people in your life, I shouldn't speak for you, there are instances where you keep going back with a person that you know is not good for you.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Hurt you over and over. But you're like focusing on the good times. That's all you want to remember is maybe those could come back. Well, I feel like I've gone through that with the local news culture. I feel like it's just time. It's just time to break up and pursue all these other things that I have inside of me that have been pushed down and pressed down because I have to be, you know, Miss Sunshine in the mornings for news and don't you dare do anything or say anything controversial or challenge the status quo. How dare you? Like, that's done. It's got to be. And mental health is a huge reason why I'm able to even say that out loud. Instead of,
we wouldn't have had this conversation 5 or 10 years ago. We just wouldn't have.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No way. I know. I'm like, I have to be very careful not to name names or.
Yeah. Well, because even if we were personally in a place where we could talk about this, it was not mainstream. These conversations were not mainstream.
No, they weren't. In fact, is it Mia St. John? You know, the boxer, mm-hmm. Mia St. John?
Yeah.
Years ago, I interviewed her. Gosh, years ago. I think at the beginning of ABC, maybe it was, anyways, many moons ago.
Here I have it on YouTube, right? No, I'm kidding.
I have been trying to find I have nothing. I'm so mad at myself. If anybody out there is pursuing their career in news and radio, please keep your stuff. Grab that stuff.
Yes.
Don't say I'll do it later. I don't have any of my like favorite interviews, nothing.
Yeah.
It's so depressing.
Same.
Anyway.
I'm in the same boat. Yeah.
Really? See,
Yeah.
we did not see this coming, right? Like we did everything we were supposed to do. We played by the rules. We showed up, we worked hard, and then it's like, bam. I never prepared. And that's my fault though. I'm saying that young people or people in this industry that are still in the industry, take care of you first. It is not show family. It is show business. And please, if they're like, oh, it's journalism. No, it is a business. When they're selling advertising, it is showtime.
Yes.
Okay?
When I was in Miami, we got a new program director, and he asked, what business are we in? And I was like, information and infotainment. He's like, nope. We are entertainment first. People will get information from us through our entertainment, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. And that's why now they push you as a person, when in the beginning it was about the station, right? Like learning about a brand, when people towards the end of my news career were like, oh, your brand. And I thought that was so weird. I'm like, my brand?
Yeah.
I'm not Kobe Bryant. Like, I don't have a shoe or, because to me, a brand is something that you have a team and they manufacture and they're like, oh, this fits your brand. You should do this. I have just been myself. For better or worse, I have been myself. I truly am the person you see on TV. And even people who hated me watched to hate me. So I'm grateful for that. It was just, I did not know that my brand is LA. My brand is, I like the outdoors. I'm family oriented. Like, this is all something that I've had to learn. And that's just by hanging around with colleagues. I don't have a team. I don't have a manager. I've never, I just recently got an agent right before my last job with NBC. I never had one.
Right.
So I had to learn things the hard way.
Yeah. But let's go back to Mia St. John. You brought her up. I cut you off.
No.
Talked with her several years ago. We're bouncing.
She was trying to push for mental health awareness. And even as I'm interviewing her and having a discussion, I was thinking, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like, that's not okay. Like, like my blocks in my head that were like, oh, this is something you do behind closed doors, right? Like, I wasn't against therapy. I mean, in fact, I even kind of knew back then that probably needed to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I don't have time. I'm a mom. I got a career. I got to take my parents to this next De La Hoya fight. Like, I was like on the move, you know? So long story short, I was trying to bring up that interview because she had gone through so much heartbreak, losing her child. Mental health was a big part of her life, whether she wanted it or not. Addressing it, I should say. And how long has it been since it's still like a stigma? And so I'm apologizing that I actually I had the chance maybe to get deeper into that subject, to go after like, well, how many people does it affect? And are women of color more susceptible? And you know, are there different kinds of therapy? Like, there's so much that we don't know. And I'm talking about my community that it's still, again, young people are leading the way. My daughter and younger are on their phones, you know, asking for help on their phones. There are apps now to talk to people. I mean, it's hopefully getting better, even with the apps, you know, to learn meditation. Aron, you brought up coping. Yeah. I wanted to go back to that. Yeah. When my daughter was born, again, young, dumb, immature, I was like tears in my eyes. I asked her doctor, and she was perfect to me, but I wanted to be a perfect mom. I said, doctor, what can I do to make her healthy, happy, successful? 3 words I told him. And he goes, well, no one's really asked me that. And I was like, well, I am. And he says, you know what? Read to her and teach her how to cope. And as someone who does not have coping skills, I was like, what does that mean? Right. So the reading part got done. I mean, I sang to her when she was in my belly. I played opera music for her with headphones. Yeah. But the coping, I did not know myself. I did not look it up. I did not research because, again, that's not something that is easily discussed. It's not something that's encouraged. We are very much a nation, at least the culture, my culture is like, suck it up.
Yeah.
You know, at least you have a job. At least you have your health, like that kind of thing. Instead of, wow, what's really bothering you? Are you hurt? Are you broken? What can we do? You know, so again, that's 26 years ago, you know, that I was told coping skills are important, and I'm all right over my head.
Yeah, coping skills are huge. I mean, I honestly, I don't feel like I learned them until the last couple of years. I really didn't. And I am in such a good place now because of that I think back to, like, you know, 30, 35, 40 years ago, like, oh God, how life could have been. But you know what? This was God's plan. This was God's plan.
Yes. I have to tell myself too, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because I could spend so much time being angry and bitter and sad and plotting revenge. No, I have to spend my energy where it's needed most, and that is on myself.
Yeah.
That is on, and that includes mental health. That includes, just like your wife said to you, bless her, bad things are going to happen. How you react is on you. Yes. And that's me. You know, I have to own up to how I got to this place. And at the same time, not beat myself up and be like, hey, what's next? Yeah. Let's work on that. Let's spend that energy on that, instead of this horrible 2020 and I had things with my foster dog, like so much heartbreak in 2020, like so many of us, right?
Yeah.
I don't own, you know, the amount of pain that went on with people's lives in 2020. But it's okay to say, yes, I was hurt too, you know?
Yep.
And, but only going up, all the way up.
We talked about the Dodgers already. We have the Astros in town Tuesday and Wednesday. What's your take on the moves the Dodgers made, bringing Scherzer in, bringing Trey Turner in? I think the relief pitcher Duffy also in. I don't remember his first name. What do you think of their moves and the idea, the possibility of a repeat this year?
Ooh-wee. Okay. So excited. And, you know, we lost that game that day, and it was a heartbreaker, and it wasn't Kenley's fault. That's a whole other story. I was excited, to say the least. And I was late night. I was here at my Nana's, and I was writing, and I was like, I'm alone. I have no one to talk to. My tortoise isn't here. I don't have a dog anymore. Like, so I went online, and I was like, it is a good day to be a Dodger fan. And I thanked the front office, because we rag on them so often. Dodger fans are spoiled, first of all. Okay, we are spoiled. Let's admit that. Doesn't mean we can't keep our expectations high, but that's what makes us Dodger fans.
Yeah.
I say that it's like a restart. It's like a restart button, because we don't know with the injuries and the desmadre with Bauer. And I feel like they really went all in to win another World Series. That's what this move is. And the fact that Max wanted to come here, I thanked Max Scherzer as well on my live IG. I was like, thank you for making us one of the teams you were willing to go to, because he said no to the Yankees. He said no to this and that. He was like, West Coast, baby. Again, shameless homer. And he made it easier for this deal to happen, because then those teams could focus on making moves, chess pieces, instead of all of MLB. So that was a great move on his part to get this done. And do you remember earlier in the day, Aaron, when the early reports were like, oh, he's going to the Padres?
Oh yeah. I was texting my friends like, oh, no, please. Please, baby Jesus. No, I went on Talladega Nights. I was like, no. But yeah, no, getting him in here. And then the addition of Trey Turner is huge as well. Let's talk about that, because Corey Seager's up for restarting with free agent. Cody Bellinger, poor baby's been hurt. Yeah.
And Cody
He's not
is
having a good year at all.
$20-30 million man.
Yeah.
And they were saying, Dave Assay, rather, I should give him credit, said that he doesn't think the Dodgers are going to pay that. So, we have a shortstop. Of course, I don't want Corey Seager to leave. We love Corey Seager. But, I mean, it is a business. And I like the move he made. And, you know, having a 6-foot-plus shortstop has been awesome and unique. But he'll go somewhere that wants to pay that. Yeah. Come on, like, get your money. I'm all about getting your money. Let him go. But we got Trey Turner. And then even if Corey stays, you know, Justin Turner, my favorite current Dodger. Love the Turner family. he's getting up there. Maybe we move Trey Turner to third and give Justin Turner some nights off. I mean, there's so many things. He could play outfield with the injuries that happened. It's all good. There were two great pickups. And welcome to LA, Danny Duffy. I don't want to leave you out. We're very excited. We love the veteran presence. Look how awesome Theo Albert has been for the Dodgers. Yeah. We love Albert Pujols. Another move that I was like, bravo.
Yeah. I love the energy. I went to a few of the Dodgers Marlins games when I went to Miami a couple of weeks ago, and just seeing Albert there in the dugout, always just pumping everybody up. He's always the first guy at home plate when anybody. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
And he is delivering. He is working. It's not. He's not just there as a cheerleader. I mean, no disrespect to Theo Albert. He's also, putting numbers up there. Didn't he have an RBI last night or two?
I think so. Yeah. They had a big inning. Yeah.
And again, that was a great move by management. I get down on analytics all the time, but they saw something in Albert Pujols that I had no idea. I did not see that coming. I'm not an insider. I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
I didn't see that coming either.
When I saw it on Twitter, I was like, huh? I don't hate Albert Pujols. The Angels kind of made him insignificant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't.
The Angels have a way of making every player insignificant. But just we won't talk about that.
And how sad that he's the one and only Latino owner in MLB. And I'm like, dude.
I know. It's so rough. It's so rough. Can we put a winning team on the field, please?
Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, and you're not even going to make playoffs. I don't understand.
Obviously, I love that the Angels won their world championship when they did. What was it, 02 or 3 or whatever it was? And then, obviously, I spent most of my life hoping that the Dodgers would get back to the World Series and win it after that series in '88. But my dream. The Yankees and Mets, they got to do their Subway Series. I need a Freeway Series in October. I need a Freeway Series in October. And that can only happen if the Angels are good.
I know. And
come on.
Paper, I don't get it. I don't know what has to happen. Doesn't he have people around him that, I don't know. See, a workplace culture does matter, right?
Oh, yes.
And so even though I'm putting it on Artie Moreno, and I shouldn't, but he is the only Latino owner. And of course, my expectations are higher because everyone looks at us. We're judged harder. We have to work harder. And so when we fail, they're like, so he's made some awesome moves. Hello, Ohtani. I got to interview him at spring training before he actually started the season.
Yeah.
And dude is a rock star and so humble. He had his own fan club following him around, all these young students in all the surrounding areas in Arizona that dazzled their jerseys for Ohtani. And I was
cool.
like, oh,
that's cool.
This is happening. Yeah, that's why the stuff that Stephen A. Smith said, dude, tone deaf, have you been outside of your circle of Connecticut?
That was rough. That was rough. I mean, I mentioned him earlier, Big Brother Jake Warner. He, has known Stephen A. Smith for a long, long time, and even he was putting out on social media like, "Hey, I cannot back you on this. They are working you too hard. Something's going on."
Something, because it was super tone deaf.
Yeah,
there was nothing. I don't know why he thought that statement would be okay, and but he's apologized.
Yeah, NFL season is about to start. Huge Rams fan. What do you think about the move to bring Matthew Stafford in?
Dude, okay. I hear some people, I listen to a lot of sports radio, and some people are like, oh, we're going back to the Super Bowl. And of course, that's the dream, right?
Yeah.
I'm more cautious. I think he's great. I think Stafford is solid. Numbers, qualifications, talent, the fact that, Sean McVay is all in. Those are things that pump me up. But the fan in me is like, yeah, Super Bowl. But then I've just been burned so much by the Rams growing up. So I'm still nursing that. And it's no one current. Currently, everything's been, again, Ram fans spoiled. I'm going to miss seeing them at the Coliseum because that's all I've known.
Yeah.
I have not been to SoFi yet. but I just feel like we have a target on our back, you know, and I feel like sometimes that I just really want him to do well. I don't want to say anything negative because I want everything I put out to be positive. So I'm going to say that I'm totally pulling, cheering for Stafford. I don't know the true backstory, what went down with our former quarterback, but it sounds like it was pretty heavy duty. And I just hope that this is a great fit. When the current players, his teammates come out and they're all in, that gives me hope as well. So let's see. Of course I want to go undefeated, but yeah, it would be a dream to go back to the Super Bowl because I took my dad to that last one that was so boring.
Oh, I know. That was one of the worst
I didn't recognize
Super Bowls
either
to watch.
team.
It was so gross. It was so bad.
It's like the Twilight Zone.
I'm going to see you at the Dodger game Wednesday night, and I will invite myself along with you so you can show me the ropes at my first LAFC game. I don't know when that's going to be, but I want to go with somebody who knows what they're doing and who has been there before. So I'm going to invite myself along to go with you one day.
Well, let's make it happen because everybody and anybody, even if you think you don't like soccer, LAFC games specifically, because I've been to MLS games in 3 different other cities.
Yeah.
LAFC is superior. The experience is what I would imagine a European soccer game is like. The drums, the vibe.
I love it.
The players, the stadium itself is patterned off their sister team in Germany. Their stadium looks like it is just gorgeous. It's everything that we love about LA and better because they're bringing us Showtime soccer.
I love that.
Have not been to LAFC, please go. And Aaron, we are going for sure.
Yes.
That's what that schedule though, because they do have a season.
We'll figure that out. Alysha, thank you. I knew we could make this happen, and seriously, one of the best hours of my life. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you for sharing your space. Hugs to you, Aaron.
Hugs. Thanks for watching the Aaron Bender podcast, whether it's on YouTube, IGTV, or DBNA TV. You can connect with me on social media, aaronbender.com. Email me guest ideas, aaronbendermedia@gmail.com. Be well, and thanks for watching.